What's up, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this POV review by Autobahn. My name is Max, and today we are taking a look at the all-new BMW M3 CS. This is the more practical version, basically, of the M4 CSL. It's not a Leichtbau, a lightweight car, not by any means, but today we're going to find out if it is, in fact, a competition sport. Because I kind of struggled to find the value in this package, because it is a lot more expensive than a regular M3 competition X-Drive. In the Netherlands, for instance, it goes from 143 to 192,000 euros, so 50,000 euros. And I saw that in other markets like the US, it's a 33% increase as well. And I'm just not sure that you get your money's worth. But let's find out today. So the CS does get a couple of extras compared to a regular M3, one of which is the fact that you get the yellow daytime running lights, like with the CSL, which we also have available in our store for a lot of different BMW models. So if you're interested in getting those yellow daytime running lights, go check out our store. I'll link the product in the video as well. But that definitely gives it a more aggressive look. It sort of immediately changes the front face of your car. It becomes a bit more racy. That's also where it came from, of course. The color signal green is also specific to the CS, or introduced with the CS. Definitely a very flashy color, but it does fit the car really well, I think. We also get the CSL grille, a nice M3 CS badge as well, and you get these red accents all around the car. The grille definitely changes a lot as well, because you have this huge opening, takes in more air of course, but it also makes the front end even more aggressive. You also get these carbon inserts as standard, and a CSL style front splitter in carbon fiber. So the weight saving on this car is 20 kilos compared to a regular competition X-Drive, which is not a lot, but you do get a couple of cool things to save weight, basically. So this is as standard. You get a carbon splitter, and then you get this carbon bonnet as well, with just a gorgeous clear coat. And yeah, it is a very nice bonnet. I mean, I have to say, I quite like those stripes. It definitely changes the car. The few things they change definitely give it like a whole new look. You also get these gold bronze wheels on the CS. These are only available on the CS, but behind that, the still optional carbon ceramic brakes, which I think is a mistake. I think this car should have had carbon ceramics as standard. I mean, you pay such a big premium, it should have been included. You can choose red or gold calipers. This car has red calipers. And then around that, we've got Pirelli P0s. These are regular P0s. I'm not sure if you can get Cup 2s or something like that optionally, but it would have been nice if this car came on Cup 2s. But I think that is not really the approach to this car. It's more supposed to be a more practical version of the CSL. So a daily drivable CSL. I think that is more the approach to this car. You get carbon fiber mirror caps as well. Of course, we have the carbon fiber roof. 285 section tires, 20-inch at the rear, 275 19-inch at the front. Carbon spoiler as well, little spoiler lip, and again the red badging on the rear. And you also get a carbon diffuser part and a titanium rear silencer with some different tips as well. The sound doesn't really change that much, but it definitely has a different look, and it saves 4 kilos, which is nice. So let's take a look at the engine, because again, you get some CSL goodies, because you have the same strut bracing and you also get the same power. 550 horsepower and 650 newton meters of torque. 550 horsepower mainly because they upped the turbo pressure from 1.7 to 2.1 bar. The increase in power is nice, 40 horsepower, but they didn't have to do that much because, you know, they have so much reserve in this engine. They did tweak like the gearbox and the ECU and different parts of the software to make it a little bit nicer on track. So I think mainly like driving mode stuff and traction control, ESP, stuff like that. You do get a bespoke suspension setup on this car. So axle kinematics, camber, spring rates, stuff like that have all been changed for the CS, and I have to say that is actually quite a big change. It really feels quite different from a regular competition X-Drive. You also get stiffer engine mounts, and on the interior we've got these door sills, M3 CS badging, and you get the carbon buckets as standard on the car with CS badging as well, and some red accents. Very nice. And then the big change is the big carbon fiber center console you get. So you don't have a center armrest anymore, you just have this like wrist pad basically to operate your iDrive, but this is very low, so that doesn't really do anything anymore. It's not the chicken dance like in the M4 CS of the previous generation, where you didn't have anywhere to put your arms. You still sort of have, you know, spots to put your arms, but it's not as comfy as the regular M3. You still do get a wireless charging pad here, which is very nice, surrounded by carbon fiber. That carbon runs all the way down there, that is super nice. That is quite a nice addition, I like that. And you also get an Alcantara steering wheel, which is super squishy. Look at that. That's nice as well, although it will look like crap in like a year, but it is a nice steering wheel. So if we start it up, it doesn't sound that different, but we might have to put them side by side to see if there's a difference between the regular exhaust and this titanium back box. But it will be marginal. So we've got rear wheel drive, of course, with DSC off, which is really nice. You still have that active differential, so you can have a bit of fun with it. It also grips like crazy. I mean, if you are a bit normal, if you use it in a normal way, you have so much grip. If you start pushing it and, you know, start really trying to get that rear to step out, you will be able to do it. But normally speaking, you have a lot of grip, which is why we usually prefer the rear-wheel drive M3s, because the trade-off between the X-Drive and the rear-wheel drive version is, of course, you have a lot more daily usability and wet weather performance with the X-Drive, but you sacrifice a lot of your front end feel. The front end feels completely different, especially if you compare it to our manual rear-wheel drive, but also to a automatic rear-wheel drive. And I always saw a lot of comments about this. Yeah, well, you can also just disengage the front axle. You can, but it didn't really feel the same. With this though, with these changes to the camber, to the springs, to the dampers, it feels alive again. That front axle is so much more agile. It wants to move around instead of that woolly feel you had with the X-Drive models. But I'm in rear-wheel drive mode now, and if you don't push it too hard, you can just use that power. It will put it down. Oh, but the turn-in is so much better now. It really is. It is a big difference. So, yeah, is it worth 50,000 euros or an increase of 33% in most markets? I'm not sure. That's a really difficult question, because I do feel like the car improves by a lot, and of course it is a limited production run, so it is about all those extras you get with the CS. And on paper, you know, plus 40 horsepower, minus 20 kilos and some carbon bits, I would say that it's not worth it. But when you take into account the fact that you have an X-Drive M3 that handles as well as a rear-wheel drive version, it might be worth it. I mean, it is a really big improvement. But before we hit the Autobahn, I just want to take a moment to thank today's sponsor, which is Carly, an OBD reading device with coding capabilities. We've got this race spec M4 F82, so let's have a look. We plugged the Carly into the OBD. I just went into the diagnostics mode to check out any error codes on this car. This is the health status of the car, which is very bad, as you can see, so very bad owner. We have Smart Mechanic available, which is a new feature on Carly, which basically gives you an interpretation of the fault codes. The Smart Mechanic would give you a suggestion of what to do with this issue. We can delete these codes. We can make sure that we don't get any notifications of them anymore. The number of issues, 69. Yeah. And we've got coding right there and live data. So live data gives you a monitoring screen of all the engine stuff like turbo pressure, temperatures. But most importantly, and I think the reason why most people go for a Carly device is because you can customize your car. So we can, for instance, change the boot up logo on the screen. We can change the moment that the car says you have to fuel up, which is very nice on a track car as well. I have to say that it depends on your car which functions are available to code and also unlock hidden features. So certain cars might have certain features like a digital speedometer, but don't have it from the factory. That is something you can code with Carly, which is really cool. Now, if we go to CSM, this is the crash security module. We read out this module. The app actually makes a backup of the system, so you can always revert back to the original settings. And then you can see the seatbelt reminder for the driver, which we have turned off. This, of course, is super important with a car like this, because when you're on track, you have your 4-point harness. You don't want the car to think that you're not wearing your seatbelt. So you can turn it on and off as many times as you like. Active sound design is the fake sound unit in this car, so you can also choose to turn that off altogether, which I would always recommend. The amount of features you can code and the things you can change and the customizability is just enormous. And that, of course, is, you know, we always complain about everything going digital and I don't want any screens, but this is kind of a benefit of that. You can customize it to your liking. So we definitely made this M4 even more ready for the track. Thanks to Carly for sponsoring this video. If you want to know if Carly works with your car, go check out mycarly.com. It works with all cars that have an OBD2 port. With an exception, if you have a BMW from 1996 onwards, you have a 20-pin adapter you can use. So go check out Carly, link is in the description. Enjoy the rest of the video. And these Pirellis on these M3s, they are actually pretty good. Normally we don't really like the P0s, but with this car they are very grippy and are a really big improvement compared to the regular P0s. So top speed, 302 kilometers an hour for the CS Limited. 0 to 100, 3.4 seconds by the way, with the launch control, and we did a 3.2, so that is really quick. The power increase, I mean, that 40 horsepower, that might be a bit understated, because 3.2 seconds is hella quick. Of course, we also measured the 100 to 200 time, and it is 7.16, so that as well is very quick. As you can see in our list, it is among some very powerful cars there, and well, that is mainly down to that quick gearbox and the increase in power. I mean, that 20 kilos of weight saving, I'm not sure you're going to notice that, but I also feel like they tweaked the gearbox a little bit. It feels like the shifts are just a little bit quicker and more aggressive. We have a bit of space here. We get the tire notification, but tire pressures are fine. And then you run up to these cars with 300 kilometers an hour and you use the ceramics. Oh, that is, I mean, those brakes are so good. They are so good. They are an absolute must on this car. A must have, I should say. I get so much satisfaction nowadays out of these braking actions. It's just, it feels so good to brake from 300 kilometers an hour. You see that car and you're like, yeah, I can make that. And then you start braking and you're like, okay, I have so much reserve still. So they should have included it, especially at this price. Oh, but it does feel, it feels quicker than a regular M3. It really does. It does improve across the range. So all these little changes they made, they amount to a bigger change in general. But it's mainly the directness and the sensitivity of the steering and the front axle that has just improved by so much. It feels, it has that same like edge that a CSL has. A CSL is, you know, even better, but this definitely has that same agility and that same lightness at the front. It's also definitely a bit more bouncy, so the spring rates and the damping have changed. And also, as I said, those engine mounts are stiffer. That also means that you have a lot more movement in the body. But I like it. It just means that you have a lot more engagement and you feel more connected to the car. It feels tied down. I'm not sure how much they're going to make. It's not going to be a limited production run, but I think it depends just on how many people will order them. A bit like with the previous CS, which not a lot of people ordered those, and that means that they are quite rare in the end. But they're also coming with an M3 CS Touring, so that should be really cool as well. That definitely underlines that character of a more practical CSL. But it did change more than I expected. It's not just the marketing, you know, it's not just the badge. But I feel like they could have done more. It's kind of a weird balance between, you know, you get a couple of really cool things, but then you don't get the carbon ceramics, even though you pay so much extra. So I think they could have given us a little bit more. But so far, I'm quite happy with this CS and the improvements it makes, especially compared to a regular X-Drive, because that is just not my favorite M3. And this just went up the list. So that's it for this review. Hope you enjoyed it. You can subscribe by clicking the big button in the middle. You can also check out this video on the right or this playlist on the left. See you at the next one. Bye.